Hiya folks, I want to get this brake caliper back together now. I've got a whole new kit to put on that, so let's get going and get this ready so we can put it back on the car. See you in a minute. Okay, well first of all, if you haven't been to my channel before and you do like my videos, do consider hitting the subscribe button there and ringing the little notification bell so that you get informed every time I upload a video. So right, I've got this Vauxhall Signum brake caliper now, as you can see, which I've fully powder coated now. It's turned out very nice, as you can see there. We've got a whole new piston kit and seal kit to go in here, so we're going to start the reassembly now. Right, this kit here does both front calipers. As you can see, I've got two of each here. That's the caliper for the other side. I don't need that, so let's put that to one side for the minute. And we've also got a dual set of seals. I will be taking the other side off and repairing the other side. So we want one of each. So there's one of the seals there. We've got two dust covers, obviously, so there's one of them we need. We need two of these rubber plugs for these pins to slide on. There is a couple of blanking plates for them as well at the end. We've also got some grease there as well to lubricate as we put back together. We've also got a set of brake nipple bleeders there as well. And looking at them four are exactly the same, so I can use any one of them. Let's put the other three back in there. Always handy to keep them as spares as well. So don't throw any of this other stuff away. And obviously the little dust cap that goes over the top there. So that's that. And that's our full rebuild kit, as you can see there, with our brand new piston as well. So we can start the reassembly now. First of all, I'm going to get some grease and just line the inside of this bore here with the grease. Everything inside has been cleaned, as you know. Clean it all down with brake cleaner before I powder coated it. So let's start the reassembly now. Let's crack into this grease here. Just take the corner off. And first of all, as I say, I'm just going to smear some red grease. Well, it's not red actually. Look, normally it's red. Just inside the piston body, just so that the walls are all lined with a thin smear of grease. It just helps when inserting a piston. Around the slot there, what the seal will sit in. Seal as well, and put a bit on there. Just make sure it's nicely lubricated, because we don't want this snatching when we go to put it in. And literally, that's it. So let's just put that inside. Shouldn't be too much of a problem getting this in. Yeah, that's sat in lovely. And just make sure it's not crossed over at all. So that is sitting in there absolutely lovely there, as you can probably see there. I like to have a blue roll handy just to keep everything clean as I'm going along. Don't forget, this is all freshly painted as well, or powder coated. Right, so here's our piston. I will just put some around the piston as well, just to keep it nicely lubed up. So again, as I say, it don't snatch. It shouldn't snatch, but just in case. And that ridge there is the ridge that the dust cover will sit in. And on this model, the dust cover actually sits on the outside edge here. So that's what we're going to be installing next. But first of all, I just want to see if the piston goes in there okay before we go any further. There we go, and as you can see, it's sliding nicely in there. So I'm happy with that. So we just pull the piston back out again. There we go, like that. So you want to get your seal over your piston first and locate it into that groove. And then, that's it, make sure that's on there. And then insert your piston, as we did before. There we go, now we're in. And once you get that far, you obviously want to get your seal back in around the outside. So make sure the bottom bit's on first, as you can see there, look. Because this is going to be quite hard to push on. There we go, just push that back home there, that. Just ensure it's on all the way around first of all. But as you can see, that's completely in now. That can be a problem to get that on, but we're all on now, as you can see, all the way around. And that basically is our caliper rebuilt. We've got our rubber bungs to put in these holes now. And again, lube up your plastic. You have to slide through the holes and push them into there. Be a bit tight these, so that's it. There we go, there's one in. And do exactly the same to the other one. Again, plenty of grease is the answer here. Make sure you get the grease in the hole as well, otherwise you'll find it's very tough to get that in. There we go. That's it. Alright, okay. We'll just put them plugs in for the moment so we don't lose them. They just pop out afterwards. A bleed nipple there, which I will just put a little bit on there and screw that in. There we go. One rebuilt brake caliper. Lovely job. I'll fit this separately because that goes on the car. Bolt that on before we actually put this on, so, and then we can screw these pins in through there afterwards. So that's the idea of that. Right, okay, that's that. Right, well, as you can see now, we've got our refurbished caliper there. There's the carrier for the caliper. And we've also got the refurbished front shock absorber as well, which I've done in a previous video to also go back on as well. So, happy days. Let's get it going. Right, here we are then. We're at the front. This needs a bit of cleaning up. This hasn't been touched for a long time now, and it's got a bit of surface rust on it. So, all I'm going to do is get a little wire brush on me battery drill and just clean this area out. Don't forget, health and safety. You don't want to be breathing in any of this dust, so mask up and safety goggles. Okay, that's a lot cleaner now, a lot cleaner, free of grease and dirt, so stops me getting all mucky when I assemble it. So I've got a pair of gloves, but I haven't put them on yet, obviously, but I'm dirty already. So first thing I'm going to do is fit this shock absorber back in now, which I've got here, and then we'll assemble the disc. I've got a brand new disc to go on there, and also new pads to go in there. I've got a new brake line hose to go in here, because this one is actually split, and we've also got a new drop link as well, which will attach over here, further up there. So I'll show you that in a minute. So let's get this shock back in. Right, okay, there we go. There's the shock absorber back in now. The drop link I've just put in as well, as you just saw there on the time lapse. To get that lined up, I just put a little bottle jack under the hub there, lifted it up like that, and that just makes locating that top hole in a lot easier because it compresses the spring without any struggling. So that's what I did there. That's the clip we welded on in the last suspension video I did on that. And as you can see, the plastic clip's broken on the back of that, so I'm just going to have to cable tie that onto there like that. I've got the new brake hose to go on. I won't do that right yet. I'm going to get the new brake rotor out and get the brakes buttoned up before I actually change the flex on that. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. So let's crack on and get the new brake disc on and the caliper. Okay then, I've got this OPEC set of brake and discs pads. So let's just open them up. I've already fitted the ones on the other side, as you've probably seen in the previous video, although I'm going to have that caliper off again to powder coat it. But just to show you what we got here. Right, and this is it, how they come. Some of these have got residue on in oil. As you see, this one's got oil on it to protect it from rusting. So what we've got to do is to give that a wipe down with some brake cleaner. Some of these come with a grey paint on them as well, which is a protective coat of paint, which you don't actually have to rub off. It burns off when you do initial braking. So I've got some brake cleaner here, so just give it a good squirt down, just to clear off all that greasy residue, as you can probably see there. And very important to do this, as I say, because you're going to be putting new pads on here. You don't want to be getting any residue on your brakes at all. Right, okay, I'm happy with that. And what I like to do is just to put a bit of grease around the hub there, only a thin smear. It just makes life a lot easier if you ever have to take this off again, because these are the places that it's going to seize on, right on that rim there. And get your disc, and don't forget you want to be lining up that you've got 5 holes there for the rotors, and you've got that small one there for the disc locator, so make sure you get that on. Here we go, like that. Just screw that in. There we go. And just holds the disc in place. Not got to be over tight with that, just nip it up. And there we go. One disc back on. So I'm going to clean this up again because I've been touching it obviously, and then we'll get our brake caliper on, get the things on, and then the last thing I'm going to do is to change that hose out. So let me get the caliper on now. Right, so here's the caliper back together with the pads in it. The one at the back there clips into the actual piston. This one's a free floating one. But as you can see, these little lugs here run in these little channels here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of copper slip just on them little channels there. Nowhere else. You don't need to put on backer pads like you used to years ago. That's irrelevant now. So that's what we're going to do now. And literally just a thin smear just in there. Keep it off the disc, obviously. And it just allows them little lugs to run nice and smoothly on there. As I say, you don't want to build that up at all because you don't want to attract brake dust. There we go. Literally just a thin smear. And that's it. That's nice. That's all we need. So hopefully we should be able to just put our pads in, hit it over the top there, like that. There we go. Look at that. Because as you can see, our pads actually link over the top of them little grooves there, so that's why it can sit there like that. And all I've got to do is lubricate these pins, shove them in our rubber bungs at the back there, and tighten them up, and then that's the caliper rebuilt. And all we've got to do then is obviously just change the brake hose. Going to do that and bleed the system. Right, so as you can see, I've got everything back on now. I've put them caps back in there, little holes at the back there, to protect the bolts there for the sliding carriage, and everything's back as it should be now. As you can see, everything's nice and clean, and I've even put the clip back on the front of the calipers to hold the front edge of the caliper in place as well. All I've got to do now is to change this brake hose. I'm going to remove that, put it back on, and then we'll bleed it. So I'm going to do that now. Okay then, so I've clipped the new cable on there, and all I've got is to disconnect the brake line from up here. And as you can see, this is a little clip. It goes through there on that body there, as you can see. So I've got to undo that, crack that bolt there, and then do a quick changeover, basically take this clip off, and then we'll be in action. So I'm going to try and do that now. I'll see you when I put that back on. What I can show you is I've got one of these 11mm open-ended spanners, especially for things like this, so that can just go in there. As you can see, that goes in there like that, and then I was able to crack this joint, so now that joint is nice and loose, And now I can withdraw that pipe, as I will do, and connect the other one up, take that clip off. And that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, I've got my automatic bleeder set up here. I've got some brake fluid in the actual container there. I've pressurised it just about to 18 psi there, and I connected it to my brake reservoir. That's full up at the moment. The fluid's all in the tube, and while that's, I'm just going to let it sit for a few minutes, just to come down here and make sure that this joint isn't leaking at all, because it's all under pressure. If it was leaking, you'd see it start to come out there before I actually bleed the brakes. And then all I need to do is literally crack this off, let the air come out into a jar down there, which I've got down there, as you can see, and that'll be the brakes bled. So we'll just leave that to stand for just a few minutes, just to make sure this doesn't leak out there, and also around the banjo point as well. Right, okay, I've looked at the pressure gauge upstairs. That hasn't moved at all. There's no sign of any leaking over here. So what I'm going to do is just put this tube in the end of a bit of into a glass, and just crack the bleed nipple. As you can see, fluid. We should see fluid coming through there, and there's no worries about the reservoir needing topping up, because the automatic brake bleeder does that. So I'm just waiting for all this air to come out of there. At another time I will actually go around and bleed all the brakes with this, and that will flush the system out and put new fluid in the complete system. So up until now I just want to get these brakes going for the moment, and there's no sign of any air coming out of there now, and the fluid's getting lighter in colour as well coming out of the tube, so that's a sign that we've actually flushed it right the way through as well. I'm keeping an eye on the pressure gauge upstairs as well, just in case the pressure needs topping up with the pump. But as I say, doing it with this tool, you haven't got no worries about the reservoir having to keep being topped up. Right, okay, so now I can just crack that back shut. Lock it up. Remove that. Dry off our bleed nipple, and replace our dust cap, and that's it, job done. So all I've got to do is to depressurise the system just by pressing that little plunger down on the once that's depressurised, remove the cap, replace the original cap, job done. So I'm just going to tidy up my work area, put the wheel back on, and then we're going to give it a little test. So I'll see you when I've done that. Okay, right, that's it all back together now. Should start it up, I suppose. Where's the keys gone? Here they are. Now I haven't started this up since October when it went off the road. So I've had the battery, of course Jimmy took the battery off it, so I've only just put the battery back on. It's got a full charge, so let's see how this starts up after all that time. How about that? It's covered in mould inside. I'll show you, hold on. Look at the mould on them seats, look. Unbelievable, isn't it? Look all on the back of the seats, look. So it's going to really need a good valet. All on the steering, it's all the bacteria when you're gobbing out of your mouth and all that, look. In the back seats there, look at the mould in here, look. Terrible. Unbelievable, but it will clean up. That's only surface, that's not a problem. So I should just shut the bonnet down. And just try them brakes out, I suppose. Right, okay then, let's try a little jaunt in it. Let's go forward, put the brakes on. Let's stop it anyway. Let's go around the block in it. Brake. Brake. Don't forget this hasn't been used for a while, so there's rust on the other brake, I can feel that. So I've got to get that rust off. Because as I say, the rotors haven't been used and they do tend to rust. The one that was laying on the floor, which I'd left down there, had rusted up, so what I will do is flush this whole system out with brake fluid. So that's what I've got to do. And the last time I drove this, we had the issue with the timing belt being one tooth out. So it feels a bit better actually. So this is the first time I drove it since then. Oh yeah, it picks up lovely now. Oh god, that's better. That's a lot better. So I'm well pleased with that now. We did solve that problem after all. Oh, that picks up really quick now. There we go, happy days. Right, so that's going to do for the moment. I've got other stuff to do now. That's another big job out the way. And all I'm going to do now is tidy up. You haven't got to see that, and I'll see you in the next video. And until then, bye for now.